Guys, welcome back to yet another analysis video. This time I'm gonna do things a little bit different. I'm not really searching for the perfect storyline here or why this match is super duper important for the outcome of the tournament. No, this time it's simply because I really enjoyed this particular game back when I was casting it with cats, and I thought about bringing it to my YouTube channel later on, so finally getting around to doing that. This is, of course, Game 1 of SpeCial vs Elazer at the IEM Katowice 2023 group stage. And we can already see that the game starts off pretty interesting, as SpeCial does go for his very patented 2 Rax Reaper against Zerg. He really likes his build. He's been doing it for like at least 4 years now, I think. And the thing is, SpeCial's Reaper micro is not insane or anything like that. He just likes to do this, make like 3 Reapers or so, and then go into a follow-up. And I think that's super interesting because, one, it forces a Zerg to make units instead of drones. So because the queens can't hold the Reapers by themselves until they pop out, then you need links, right? So it forces a few extra links to be made. Sometimes the Zerg can overreact a little bit, and also there's potential for you to simply get drone kills. So I think it's a good build. It's also one thing that I glossed over is that actually it's very good against pool first, because if they play pool first, you already have the wall in front of your natural, meaning that they can't invade your natural to delay your CC or anything. And also the links that he's made, there you're going to have to go back to his base, and that's just good for you in general. So not a pull first here on the side of Elazer, but very good start on the side of SpeCial for sure, as he is going to send those Reapers across. He has Reaper number 2 and 3 queued, but I doubt he's going to make more, as he already has a Marine queued, as you can see, to kill that Overlord that's going to his main. He's going to use his gas instead to go for a factory after this. One thing that I find interesting is that he actually sent the Reaper into the main instead of the natural, and this actually kind of makes sense in Ancient Cistern, because the path to the natural is actually longer than the path to the main for the Reaper. You can see they kind of go in a straight line from the Terran's natural into the Zerg's main, whereas if he went into the Zerg's natural, it would take just a bit longer. But yeah, already good start. He kills a Ling and a drone, I believe. So really good start here on the side of SpeCial, and he's already preparing his follow-up, which is to go for the factory, and he's already making add-ons on the barracks as well. He almost kills the Overlord. If he killed this over, that would actually be insane. Like, Elazer would be completely screwed because he didn't even have an Overlord queued up, so that would supply block him for ages. And SpeCial just abusing the fact that Elazer doesn't have the speed for his Zerglings yet, so that is going to cost him a few drones, 5 drones even. Absolutely worth losing 3 Reapers here for 5 drones. If he had gotten like 2 or 3 even, I don't know if I would have liked losing the 3 Reapers there, but alas, he did kill 5, and I think that's totally worth it. You can see he's ahead in worker count. This is something you'd never want to be as a Zerg player. And SpeCial already having that starport almost done. He has the option of making a Viking. He can make a Liberator. He can even go into BCs. As you can see by his gas count, it's really quite large. He can go for anything he wants at this point. I was going to say it does make sense to go for medevac because he has been making Marines non-stop, right? So he is going to go up to 8 medevacs, or sorry, 8 Marines, which is going to be a full medevac. And then he has the option of going for the Hellion run-by. So probably going to be like an 8 Marine drop into the main, Hellion run-by to the 3rd, which is a super classic build. And you can also use these Marines to kill for Overlords around the map. You can see there's a lot of potential Overlords that can be killed. The Elazer actually quick thinking by him, just already retreating with those Overlords so he doesn't lose them for free. And behind this, we are going to see a fusion core. This is usually indicative of Mech. because it's very difficult to transition from a BC into bio, because you already spent a lot of gas on getting that BC up, and you need gas for bio to get your upgrades going on. You need gas for stim, combat shields, add-ons on the barracks, and 1-1 upgrades for your marines. So it's really a lot of gas, and that's why BC into bio is not super popular. It's viable, but not really popular. Instead, just Hellions coming out so far, BC on the way, third is gonna land. Usually you can tell if it's gonna be mech or not by the timing of the gases, and this is where Elazer having this overlord in this position could really come in handy, because he could bring that overlord a little bit closer, see the timing of the gases, and boom, he would know, okay, it's mech. Those gases are way too fast to be bio. Marines not gonna get any damage done here whatsoever. Hellions on the other hand kill a single tumor, so nothing crazy. Elazer actually with a spectacular defense after such a scrappy early game, so really not bad. But there's still one more play for SpeCial to be done, which is using these units that he already has, plus teleporting the BC into the main or something. What he could even do is exactly what he's doing right now, is drop into the main and teleport with the BC. So you have a BC with the support of 8 Marines and the medevac behind it. It's just really important that he doesn't lose this medevac early. Yeah, maybe Hellions a little bit out of position there. Once he saw those lings, maybe there was some potential for him to run by them into the third. And instead focused on dealing damage here with this BC, which is actually gonna do a lot of damage simply because there was no Spore Crawler yet. Spore Crawlers are super important to deal with this. So good start here by SpeCial, and indeed he is going into that Mech follow behind. Double factor already down. You can see he's actually delaying. Oh, that's actually super sketchy by SpeCial. Losing all of those Hellions is really not what should have happened. If he keeps those Hellions alive, he can actually destroy so much creep and keep the drone count low on the fourth, because it's really hard for the Zerg to defend without roaches. So huge mistake there by losing the Hellions. And as I was gonna say, you can tell that the Terran is gonna go Cyclone Mech because his gases are pretty late at the third. Normally as a mech player, if you're going like BC tank, once you land your third, you get your extra gases immediately, but this time he really delayed them in exchange for those Cyclones first and getting Yamato. And yeah, just making sure that he has the mineral count, because Cyclones are a lot less gas intensive than other units. But yeah, very the macro is spot on here for SpeCial, but losing those units was really not ideal. You can see by the units lost that he's actually behind in units lost, which should never happen as a Terran player in the early game. That's how you can tell that it was not a good move by SpeCial. But throughout all of this, he has consistently been ahead in worker count, which is actually really good. The only thing to know as a mech player is that very rarely you'll be able to simply kill the Zerg. Mech is naturally a more defensive style. You can do a lot of damage to drones. You can get very easy damage on drones with your very mobile units like Cyclones and Hellions. You can trade well, but it has very little killing power. Simply because, yeah, there's just not a lot of firepower. They're very good at kiting, very good at mobility, but yeah. This trade was actually quite well. It was a bit sketchy for SpeCial. If he had lost these units, that would have been a huge problem for him, because, as I said, he is playing Cyclone Hellion, and if you lose your first 4 Cyclones already, then you lose a lot of momentum in the game. Especially because you want your Cyclone count to be high by the time your mag field upgrade is done. That's where your Cyclones really shine. But yeah. One thing you also have to be careful about playing Cyclone Hellion like this is surrounds. Because you never know when a bunch of lings are going to come from behind and wrap around your army while roaches come and decimate you from the front. Does have 3 BCs with Yamato, which means easy 3 corruptor kills, but he's playing super defensive with them, and I'm not sure exactly why. He is playing single armory. This I'm not a huge fan of. I do think, of course, weapons are more important than armor, but I still think that armor is super important for Mech against Lings. So yeah, if you have the gas, I would advise playing double armory. If I was SpeCial in this case, I probably would have thrown down the double armory before I had 5 factories. Of course, this is completely optional, as you can tell, but that's, yeah, just my personal preference, to be honest. But yeah, Eco is actually soaring for SpeCial. He has a 4th base at a good time. Even saturating his gas is super fast. So as soon as you saturate your fourth base, you can already start to look into getting your extra factories. So go up to 8 factories if you want. Good catch here by Elazer, actually. Maybe overextending a little bit too much. I'm guessing he was counting on those corruptors being here, but yeah, he really wants to pressure SpeCial a little bit. The thing is, at this stage of the game, it's going to be very difficult for him to break on Mech Terran, because he's already almost maxed out. He has all of his infrastructure ready, so that means turrets, sensor towers, PFs, all of the whole shebang the Mech Terran already has, so it's very difficult for him to break it. So he already has to start looking into playing the long game, which means basically for the Zerg player, getting a lot of bases, saturating them, and getting your Hive ASAP. Because Hive is where you get the units that really shine against Mech. Ravager Bane or Roach Bane is actually the most standard composition against Mech, but it's a lot better played defensively because you can set up a lot of flanks, and you can have more vision of the Terran, so you can prepare the fight a little bit better. Not the best composition offensively unless you catch like a planetary fortress that's not defended with no tanks in it. Like if he could somehow get Bailey Rumbites into here, that would be spectacular. But yeah, mostly a defensive comp. Really good at defending as a Zerg player if you can set up surrounds like he is right now. But it was a little bit disjointed, which is going to end up really good for SpeCial, as he already set up his 8 factory production. There is so many factories already. And he's even going to put extra tech labs on those, I think. So he's probably going to have 6 tech labs, 2 reactors, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, that's really a lot of production power. And you can tell that he already is spending a lot of his money just by getting a bunch of those bases, and he still has a bunch left over. 4 CCs on the way, a PF. In this case, from SpeCial's perspective, I feel like I would like to prepare some kind of transition. I do like the starports. Starports are okay. You can get a lot of Vikings, you can go into more BCs, maybe even Liberators. But in my case, I would have liked to see maybe some Ghosts. But yeah, it's just important at this point that you prepare some kind of transition, because factory units by themselves are actually not that good. Unless you play an economic game where you have a large advantage. But yeah, SpeCial, maybe overstaying a little bit more. I definitely would have liked him to retreat after killing that base. I definitely think he overstayed his welcome there, trying to push that far on creep. And that is actually going to cost him a lot of the advantage he had this game. Corruptors are going to pee on a bunch of these factories, which are going to be destroyed. He is going to lose 2 of these bases, a bunch of SCVs at his 3rd. I feel like even though this game is still really good for SpeCial, he did kind of throw some of that advantage away just by pushing that deep on creep, not waiting for reinforcements. And that's why I said Mech is more of a defensive composition, because it's just so hard for you to have your reinforcements with you, like Bio is. But still, I think this is totally fine. He's going to lose that PF. That's fine as long as he doesn't lose too many SCVs. He can always land another PF. It is very costly to send those paintings in, of course. I'm not sure about the Ravens transition. I do like having 1, maybe 2 Ravens for detection, because you do need to be careful against burrow infestors neuroling your units. But I'm not a big fan of making multiple ravens like this, unless I guess he needs some kind of gas dump. But in this case, it's probably better off just conserving his gas and just not taking the gases at his extra bases, you know, and keep those in the back pocket for when he need it. Maybe when his main gases start mining out like they are now. Yeah, I'm really not a big fan of these ravens. They don't do anything for him. Turrets are useless. Anti-armor missile is okay, but only for the Hellions. And he can't matrix anything except infestors, which frankly I don't see being that useful, to be honest. So I'm really not sure about the Raven transition here. With that many starports, he could definitely afford ghosts instead. He could also even maybe go for ranged liberators, or maybe some Vikings, anything, but I'm not a big fan of those. I'm not a fan of these Ravens. I do like the moves though, like splitting off a Cyclone to try and kill an Infestor, but you do need, of course, 4 shots to kill because they do regenerate. He is being a little bit reckless with these units. Not having enough Hellions means you open yourself up to a Link Surround. He's trading super inefficiently, which frankly I don't like. His eco is good, but it's not incredible. I mean, you can see Elazer still has the eco advantage. So it's very important that SpeCial actually trades somewhat cost efficiently, which I feel like he hasn't. Like you can tell he's only very slightly ahead in units lost. So yeah, really not a big fan of the way SpeCial has been fighting. But the important thing is he's been expanding behind this, right? Maybe he could send his command center over here because he has a lot of SCVs. He could saturate more bases, but definitely has to be a little bit more careful about his future trades. I do like that he took this base. I think this base is almost a freebie if you're playing Mech, because if you're defending this base, you're automatically defending your third already. So I'm a big fan of this base. It also makes it even easier to take this one. So I like this expand pattern for the Terran a lot more than I like this one, for example. Even if it brings a little bit closer to the Zerg, I'm still okay with it as long as you have tanks, set up some turrets, and then you're good to go. One thing that SpeCial has to be constantly wary of also is a Broodlord switch, because he knows there's a lot of Corruptors out on the map. So a Broodlord switch could be really deadly. Cyclones can't kill Broodlords, tanks obviously not, which means you're only left with Thors. But I guess the reason he's not super scared about it is because A, he has 3 BCs, which means 3 free Broodlord kills as soon as the fight starts with Yamato. And B, he has a lot of starports, which means he could rapidly produce a bunch of Vikings in case there are Broodlords. But yeah, he does need to be a bit careful. If Broodlords showed up right now and started shelling at those tanks, he'll be first on siege, and then the units would pounce. It'll be really scary. I'm not a fan of taking this position here. I feel like it doesn't accomplish much for him, except expose his army a little bit more. So yeah, a bit of a questionable play by SpeCial, I want to say. He does lose this position now, and it makes his PF even easier to break for the Zerg, whereas if he had tanks here, I think it would have been almost impossible. But it does look like he is going to hold, so I think it's going to be okay. He does kill a lot of the Corruptors too. Oh, he actually does lose a PF. That's pretty crazy. So it does end up being really good for Elazer, actually. On the other side of the map, BCs are of course dealing damage, but that's not, he's gonna need a lot more to compensate for this. So I feel like moving out this far into the map was really SpeCial's mistake. Making those extra starports that they have been completely useless. The extra starports that he made, where did he make them? Here, 2 tanks stuck in the main. That's super unfortunate. Yeah, if you're gonna transition, make sure you make a good unit out of it, but not Ravens. And I think Ghosts are definitely the best complementary unit you can have to your bulk mech army, frankly. They're just so good. They can EMP infestors, vipers, and they can snipe. They're really quite amazing. You can even nuke with them if you so desire, but I think Hellions are better at harassing anyways. But despite all of this, keep in mind that he's still ahead in units lost. So it's still winnable. His eco is not great, but he still has 5 bases. He still has the chance to take this base if he so desires. And at any moment, he can start remaking SCVs very fast because he has a lot of command centers. And I would really like to see him at least remake some SCVs to fix his economy a little bit. But I can understand his... but I can also understand him being afraid to make more SCVs because, at least from his perspective, this is a very tight game, right? He doesn't know Elazer's eco exactly. He sees some of these fringe bases, but not too many. 3 infestor catch, super nice. These BC run-bys have been spectacular. You can see 37 kills on one, 22 on the other, and 22. Wow. Collectively, these BCs have killed like 8 units, which is pretty insane. Doesn't kill the hatchery, but it's good that he played it safe, otherwise he would have lost it to Neurals. So really important to get out of there. He is gonna push now. He has a powerful army, but once again, it is kind of scary to push out against this kind of army because one good surround could completely obliterate you. And it's not like he has that many tanks, only 5 so far. So this is not really a fighting composition by SpeCial, but he can still make up for it with good micro, good positioning, abusing this terrain a little bit. That's actually a really good run-by Elazer. Should kill at least a couple of tanks. Yeah, definitely absolutely worth it. Might even lose this one, which is kind of crazy. I think from Elazer's perspective, he could even ditch this base. It's so low already anyways. And pushing down this ramp will be simply suicide. His army is better, but is it still worth it even if he holds this? I'm not sure. SpeCial is gonna back off. I think I understand that he can't push up this ramp. It's kind of like a game of chicken here because both players don't want to push through the ramp. But I feel like with this hatchery this low, he could have done like at least a Yamato with the BCs or something just to kill it. And then he could have backed off. So definitely maybe a little bit of an oversight there. And once again, he is kind of staying out on the map like this. But this time at least, he has a good reason. Because that is going to protect this base. And it also sets him up to take this base soon. So this time it finally makes sense for him to be out on the map. Definitely should siege these tanks. But before, I think it was really quite questionable being out there. Definitely a winnable game for both players. But I do favor Elazer's position a little bit more. I would like for him to take more gases. You can see his gas income has been kind of terrible. Oh wow. Oh, I remember this part actually because they lagged out. I think SpeCial kind of forgot about these BCs. And at this point, if I was SpeCial, I probably would have asked for a regame. Because he definitely lost those BCs because of the lag. It really messed him up. And that's actually kind of crucial at this point because losing those BCs means Elazer can finally go into Broodlords if he has a gas to. But he doesn't, luckily for SpeCial. And he does kill this base, which means Elazer's really strained in eco. It's so important that he takes these gases, which he isn't taking. And he should also have taken this hatchery a lot sooner. So I think Elazer definitely missing a lot on potential moves he could be taking here. Just kind of trying to babysit this army, making sure he's not caught off guard. Or maybe he can catch SpeCial while he's unsieged. But yeah, in one big move, SpeCial kind of took the momentum. Just by taking this position and killing the top left base. But also, oh wow, he even pushes up the ramp here and kills it because the infestors, really, they couldn't get an angle to get any neurals on the tanks. turrets are everywhere, so the infestors can't shark for neurals. So SpeCial is really playing this phenomenally. What I do think SpeCial might be should be looking at doing right now, though, is definitely going into Thor's, because the only thing that can kill him really is a Broodlord switch right now. I think his army is powerful enough that he has enough tanks that he can deal with the ground army. He just needs some kind of anti-air. He's still making Cyclones. Frankly, that wouldn't be my go-to unit at this point in the game. Sure, they're fast and sure they trade well, but they're not really a late game unit, right? They don't trade spectacularly in straight up fights, with maxed out fights. They are good at forcing engagements. You poke the guy and then you force a Zerg to come to you. But other than that, I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of these Ravens. As you can tell, they've been pretty useless. I mean, yeah, they're forcing neurals out of Elazer, but better to just save your money for other things. On the other hand, Elazer is finally going to break through this position, and I think SpeCial tried to force two sides at once, right? He thought he was safe on this side, and he thought he had enough to push on this side, and he kind of lost on both fronts, to be honest. He did win, he did trade a lot better on this side, but losing this position actually means losing this base, and this is definitely better for Elazer than it is for him. But luckily for him, he has so much of a bank. You can see his supply is still so freaking high because he saved so much money from those three bases he took in the bottom right. So in this case, oh sorry, I put it on the slower speed by accident, but I fixed it now. Anyways, in this case, I would say that Elazer really needs a miracle to try and pull him out of this game, and this is where it gets interesting, right? He goes for the engage with two Broodlords hitting those tanks, and those tanks were the only thing that were stopping this army from simply pouncing on the Cyclones and the Hellions and fungling everything. And at this point, the only thing that SpeCial sees are these two Broodlords marching across the map. He has no idea that Elazer only made two single Broodlords. And these guys are absolutely carrying the game for SpeCial because all he has are these shitty Cyclones. And Cyclones just, they can't deal with Broodlords, even if there's only two of them because there's an army underneath. And because of this, SpeCial is going to lose a base, he's going to lose his position. He lost this base to a run-by, and he's kind of F2, scrambling to defending these bases, kind of F2ing there. There's not even a base for him to kill here, so this coming down here is a complete waste of time for SpeCial, because this army can't do anything by being here. All it does is clean up these few links that he could have done with a couple of Hellions. He definitely should have kept his army on this side of the map, pressured these two bases, so that is SpeCial's huge mistake, was bringing this army down here. Keep your army up here, focus on denying the Zerg's eco, and maybe leave a couple of Hellions to stop these run-bys. So much damage being done, and like I said, Elazer needed a miracle. His miracle was the two hero Broodlords. Those two hero Broodlords actually saved the game for Elazer. Like, they don't even have that many kills each. 6 and 3, but I think 3 of those 9 kills were 3 tanks, so yeah. Like, I'm not sure about these Ravens. Okay, they do kill some infestors with the Matrix and whatnot, but they also force SpeCial into not a favorable fight, I think. I think that fight was not as good as it could have been for SpeCial. Killing those infestors at the start, sure, that was nice, but now you're forced into creep against Roach Ravager with no tank sieged. So this is just gonna be game over for SpeCial in one swift move. He lost everything. SpeCial had everything and he lost everything simply by denying or staying at the wrong side of the map with his army and stretching himself too thin against Zerg. And he kind of fell for Elazer's bluff of, hey, I have Broodlords, back off, I'm gonna take all your bases, when in fact it was simply only 2 Broodlords. So a lot of things went right for SpeCial throughout the game, but just a series of bad decisions at the end does end up costing him this first game in the series, but he does end up winning the series. Spoiler alert. So good for him. That's it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Other than that, I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one. Bye bye.